Yo, what's up guys? How's it going? Welcome to the channel. If you are not already a part of this place, hope you guys are having a great day. So, today we're going to be talking about City of Glass by Cassandra Clare, Shadowhunters. So, today I'm going to be doing chapters 11 and 12 and probably a little bit more. This is going to be a really long video, but it needs to be done. So, what's up? If you're not a part of the channel, go ahead and put the like button and subscribe to my channel and push the notification bell so you get all of my great videos. What's up? So, City of Glass, The Mortal Instruments, Book 3. Today, I'm going to be doing the audiobook on chapters 11 and 12, kind of do a little bit of a recap, and get into a very exciting part of City of Glass. So, what's going on with the Shadowhunters? Okay, so we already know. My cat. Oh my god. So we already know that there's a battle going on between the demon world, the clave, and the Shadowhunters. So basically, Alicante is now being destroyed by Valentine's army of demons, and basically everybody is trying to get out of there and survive, and we have so much fighting going on. It's like a big war. A few details you need to know. There's not a lot of huge details, but basically, one huge detail is Simon is now out of prison. They tried to break Samuel out of prison, and also as well, Jace and Clary are fighting a war alongside Alec and Magnus in the streets to get rid of all the demons. And basically, we have this huge war going on, and we'll see who comes out at first. So, we are on page 268. My big goal was to kind of reach 300 pages in this book today, and the reason I haven't been posting daily on this book is a lot of the times I want to read the book and then do the video so I can get a better recap. I feel like if I try to read on the video, I kind of miss a few details, so I need some quiet time to myself to try to just read it and then come back to you guys and make a video. So, that's exactly what we're doing today. So, we are in the middle, or kind of, we're not really in the middle, just began chapter 12. I think it was last night I started reading it. So we're on page 268, about the next to last paragraph, and we're going to start from there. So 268, and yeah, let's go ahead and read it. Well, he couldn't leave that guy down there to die, Alex said unexpectedly, though he looked a little anxious himself. It's Jace we're talking about here. He broke off. His two hands rose up out of the smoke. Alec grabbed one and Simon the other, and together they hauled Samuel like a limp sack of potatoes out of the cell and deposited him on the lawn. A moment later, Simon and Clary were grabbing Jace's hands and pulling him out, though he was considerably less limp and swore when they accidentally banged his head on the ledge. He shook them off, crawling the rest of the way onto the grass himself and then collapsing onto his back. Ouch, he said, staring up at the sky. I think I pulled something. He sat up and glanced over at Samuel. Is he okay? Simon sat hunched on the ground, his hands splayed over his face. Excuse me. He was rocking back and forth soundlessly. I think there's something wrong with him, said Alec. He reached down to touch Samuel's shoulder. Samuel jerked away, almost toppling over. Leave me alone, he said, his voice cracking. Please, leave me alone, Alec. Alec went still all over. What did you say? He said to leave him alone, said Simon, but Alec wasn't looking at him. Didn't even appear to notice he was spoken. He was looking at Jace, who, suddenly very pale, had already begun to rise to his feet. Samuel, Alex said. His tone was strangely harsh. Take your hands away from your face. No, Samuel took his chin down, his shoulders shaking. No, please, no. Alex, Simon protested. Can't you see he isn't well? Clary caught sight at Simon's sleeve. Simon, there's something wrong. Her eyes were on Jace. When weren't they? As he moved to stare down at the crouched figure of Samuel, the tips of Jace's fingers were bleeding where he scraped them on the window ledge, and when he moved to push his hair back from his eyes, they left bloody tracks across his cheeks. He didn't seem to notice. His eyes were wide, his mouth a flat, angry line. "Shadowhunter," he said. His voice was deathly clear. "Show us your face." Samuel hesitated, then dropped his hand. Simon had never seen his face before, and he hadn't realized how gaunt Samuel was, or how he looked. His face was half covered by a thatch of thick gray beard, the eyes swimming in dark hollows, his cheeks grooved with lines. But for all that, he was still, somehow, strangely familiar. Alex's lips moved, but no sound came out. It was Jace who spoke. "Hodge," he said. "Hodge," Simon echoed in confusion. "But it can't be. Hodge was, and Samuel who can't be." "Well, that's just what Hodge does, apparently," Alex said bitterly. "He makes you think he's someone he's not." "But he said," Simon began. Clary's grip tightened on his sleeve, and the words died on his lips. The expression on Hodge's face was enough. Not guilt, really, or even horror at being discovered, but a terrible grief that was hard to look for long. "Jace," Hodge said very quietly. "Alec, I'm so sorry." Jace moved then the way he was. Jace moved then the way he moved when he was fighting, like sunlight across water. He was standing in front of Hodge with the knife out, the sharp tip of it aimed at the old tutor's throat. The reflected glow of the fire slid off the blade. "I don't want your apologies. I want a reason why I shouldn't kill you right now, right here." "Jace," Alex was alarmed. "Jace, wait." There was a sudden roar as part of the guard roof went up in orange tongues of flames. Heat shimmered in the air and lit the night. Clary could see every blade of grass on the ground, every line on Hodge's thin and dirty face. "No," Jace said. His blank expression as he glanced down at Hodge reminded Clary of another mistake. Another mask-like face. Valentine's. "You knew what my father did to me, didn't you? You knew all his dirty secrets." Alec was looking uncomprehendingly from Jace to his old tutor. "What are you talking about? What's going on?" Hodge's face creased. "Jonathan, you've always known and you never said anything. All those years in the Institute and you never said anything?" Hodge's mouth sagged. I wasn't sure," he whispered. "When you haven't seen a child since he was a baby, I wasn't sure who you were, much less what you were." "Jace?" Alec was looking from his best friend to his tutor, his blue eyes dismayed, but neither of the two was paying attention to anything but the other. Hodge looked like a man trapped in a tightening vice, his hands jerking at his sides as if with pain, his eyes darting. Clary thought of the neatly dressed man in his book-lined library who had offered her tea and kindly advice. It seemed like 1,000 years ago. "I don't believe you," Jace said. "You knew Valentine wasn't dead." "He must have told you." "He told me nothing," Hodge gasped. "When the light was informing that they were taking him, Michael Whalen's son, I hadn't heard a word from Valentine since the uprising. I had thought he had forgotten me. I'd even prayed he was dead, but I never knew. And then the night before you arrived, Hugo came with a message from me for Valentine. 'The boy is my son.' That is all he said. That is all it said." He took a ragged breath. "I had no idea whether to believe him. I thought I'd know, just looking at you, but there was nothing to make me sure. And I thought this was a trick of Valentine's, but what trick? What was he trying to do?" "You had no idea. That was clear enough for me, but as for Valentine's purpose, you should have told me what I was," Jace said, all in one breath, as if the words were being punched out of him. "I could have done something about it then. Killed myself, maybe." Hodge raised his hand, looking up at Jace through his matted, filthy hair. "I wasn't sure," he said again, half to himself, "and in times that I wondered. I thought perhaps that upbringing..." What the? My cat just jumped like halfway across my bed. I don't even know what the fuck happened. I gotta get him out of here. Excuse me. My cat's crazy, I tell you. Try to read this video, and then it's like, what? Taught what? Not to be a monster? Jason's voice shook, but the knife in his hand was steady. "You should have known better. He made a crawling coward out of you, didn't he? And you weren't a helpless little kid when he did it. You could have fought back." Hodge's eyes fell. "I tried to do my best by you," he said, but even to Clary's ears his words sounded weak. "Until Valentine came back," Jay said, "and then you did everything he asked of you. You gave me to him like I was a dog that he had belonged to him once, that he'd asked you to look after for a few years. And then you left," said Alec. "You left us all. Do you really think you could hide here in Alicante?" "I didn't come here to hide," said Hodge, his voice lifeless. "I came here to stop Valentine." "You can't expect us to believe that." Alex sounded angry again now. "You've always been on Valentine's side. You could have chosen to turn your back on him." "I could never have chosen that." Hodge's voice rose. Your parents were given their chance for a new life. "I was never given that. I was wrapped in the Institute for 15 years. The Institute was our home," Alex said. "Was it really so bad living with us, being part of our family?" Excuse me. "Not because of you," Hodge's voice was rag. "I loved you children, but you were children. And no place that you are never allowed to leave can be a home. I went weeks sometimes without speaking to another adult. No other shadowhunter would trust me. Not even your parents truly liked me. They tolerated me because they had no choice. I could never marry, never had a child, never had children of my own, never had a life. And eventually, you children would have been grown and gone, and then I wouldn't even have had that. I lived in fear as much as I lived at all. You can't make us feel sorry for you," Jay said. "Not after what you did. And what the hell were you afraid of? Spending all your time in the library? Dust mites? We were the ones who went out and fought demons." "He was afraid of Valentine," Simon said. "Don't you get it?" Jay shot him a venomous look. "Shut up, vampire. This isn't in any way about you. Not Valentine exactly," Hodge said, looking at Simon for almost the first time since he'd been dragged from the cell. There was something in that, but it surprised Clary. A tired, almost affection. "My own weakness where Valentine was concerned. I knew he would return someday. I knew he would make a bid for power again, a bid to rule the clave. And I knew what he could offer me. Freedom from my curse, a life, a place in the world. I could have been a shadowhunter again in this world. I could never be one again in this. I could never be one again in this one." There was a naked longing in his voice that was painful to hear, and I knew I would be too weak to refuse him if he offered it. "And look at the life you got," Jay spat. "Riding in stalls with the guard. Was it worth it, betraying us?" "You know the answer to that." Hodge sounded exhausted. "Valentine took the curse off me. He'd sworn he would, and he did. I thought he'd bring me back to the circle, or what remained of it. Then, he didn't. Even he didn't want me. I knew there would be no place for me in this new world, and I knew I'd sold out everything I did have for a life." He looked down at his clenched, filthy hands. There was only one thing I had left. One chance to make something other than an utter waste out of my life. After I heard that Valentine had attacked the Silent City, that he had the mortal sword, I knew he would go after the mortal glass next. I knew he needed all three of the instruments. And I knew the mortal glass was here in Idris. Wait, Alec held up a hand. "The mortal glass? You mean you know where it is? And who has it?" "No one has it," said Hodge. "No one could own the mortal glass. No Nephilim and no downworlder." "You really did go crazy down there," Jay said, jerking his chin toward the burned out windows of the dungeon, "didn't you?" Clary was looking anxiously at the guard, its roof crowned with a thorny net of red gold flames. "The fire is spreading. We should get out of here. We can talk down in the city. I was locked in the Institute for 15 years, Hodge went on, as if Clary hadn't spoken. "I couldn't put so much as a hand or a foot outside. I spent all my time in the library, researching ways to remove the curse the clave had put on me. I learned that only a mortal instrument can reverse it. I read book after book, telling the story of the mythology of the angel, how he rose from the lake bearing the mortal instruments and gave them to Jonathan Shadowhunter, the first Nephilim, and how there were three of them, cup, sword, and mirror." "We know all this," Jason interrupted, exasperated. "You taught it to us." "You think you know all of it, but you don't. As I went over and over the various versions of the histories, I happened again and again on the same illustration, the same image. We've all seen it. The angel rising out of the lake with the sword in one hand and the cup in the other. I can never understand why the mirror wasn't pictured. Then I realized. The mirror is the lake. The lake is the mirror. They are one and the same." Slowly, Jace lowered the light. "Lake Lynn? Lake Lynn?" Clary thought of the lake, like a mirror rising to meet her, the water shattering apart on impact. I found the lake when I first got there. There is something about it. Luke said it has strange properties, and that the fair folk call it the Mirror of Dreams. Exactly, Hodge began eagerly. And I realized the clay wasn't aware of this, that the knowledge had been lost to time. Even Valentine didn't know. He was interrupted by a crashing roar, the sound of a tower at the far end of the guard collapsing. It sent up a firework display of red and glittering sparks. Jace, Alex said, raising his head in alarm. Jace, we have to get out of here. Get up, he said to Hodge, yanking him upright by the arm. You can tell the clay what you just told us. Hodge got shakily to his feet. What must it be like, Clary thought, with a pang of unwelcome pity, to live your life ashamed, and not just of what you've done, but of what you were doing, and of what you knew you'd do again. Hodge had given up a long time ago, trying to live a better life, or a different one. All he wanted was not to be afraid, and so he was afraid all the time. Come on, Alex said, gripping Hodge's arm, propelled him forward, but Jay stepped in front of them both, blocking their way. If Valentine gets some more glass, he said, what then? Jace, Alex said, still holding Hodge's arm. Not now. If he tells it to the clay, we'll never hear it from them, Jace said. To them, we're just children, but Hodge owns us this. He turned on to his old tutor. You said you realized you had to stop Valentine. Stop him doing what? What does the mirror give him the power to do? Hodge shook his head. I can't, and no lies. The knife gleamed at Jace's side. His hand was tight on the hilt. Because maybe for every lie you tell me, I'll cut off a finger or two. Hodge cringed back, real fear in his eyes. Alec looked stricken. Jace, no. This is what your father's like. It's not what you're like. Alex, said Jace. He didn't look at his friend, but his tone was like the torch of a regretful hand. You don't really know what I'm like. Alex's eyes met Clary's across the grass. You can't imagine why Jace is acting like this, she said. He doesn't know. She took a step forward. Jace, Alec is right. We can't take Hodge down to the hall, and he can tell. We can take Hodge down to the hall, and he can tell us. And he can tell the clay what he just told us. If he'd been willing to tell the clay, we would have done it. Already, Jace snapped without looking at her. The fact that he didn't proves he's a liar. The clave isn't to be trusted, Hodge protested desperately. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's all the time I have today. And I hope you guys keep reading City of Glass by the Shadowhunter Company. So, hashtag Shadowhunter Guy. That is me. That's who I am, Shadowhunter Guy. And that is where we talk about all the books in the Mortal Instruments series. Plus, there may even be Infernal Devices coming. I'm not really sure, but we'll check into that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please go ahead and subscribe, push the like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all of my videos. Thank you. Keep shadow hunting.